Well, I know. Nate, if there's any showdown music, let's cue it right now because that concludes the agreeing session of the podcast. We got three guys that you take exception to that we're kind of high on, and you want me to go one by one on these, Will?
Yeah, let's start one by one.
There's a guy, Sammy Watkins. I'm just going to put it out there right now. I'm not on the Wolves side on this. I'm down on Sammy Watkins, so I'm gonna be quiet on this, and I'm gonna let him do his own thing. Wolf, where do you have Sammy Watkins ranked?
So I have Watkins up at wide receiver 16, but I do want to let Jeff get the start here. Why are you not high on Sammy Watkins? I probably know what you're gonna say, but let's hear it anyways. What's your argument against Sammy?
Well, first of all, he plays for Buffalo. There's nothing really exciting about Buffalo. I mean, I'd rather have the third wide receiver or the third option in Green Bay or New England than have the number one in Buffalo. That historically has played pretty well for me. He hasn't really ever proven to be that type of. He's played 16 games his first year. He's played 8 and 13 the last two. He plays inconsistent, has those big blow-up games. Was dead last or they ran the ball. They were dead last in pass attempts last year. So they're not an offense I can really get behind, and that's probably one of the leading candidates on why I don't really trust Sammy Watkins. He hasn't proven to be that number one, and he's still being drafted as if he's got that upside, and I can't trust him.
Yeah, so I would say I think all those points are great, and I kind of spin them in a positive sense in that, one, they were the lowest in the league in pass attempts last year, which means they can only go up, right? So I think more volume has to be coming his way. And you mentioned, he's the number one option. It's a crap offense. It is pretty garbage. There's almost no one else around him from receiver-wise. So I use that in terms of thinking he's got to see at least, 27. We were talking about target share, the percentage of targets earlier. He's got to see 27, 28, maybe even the rare 30% of targets coming his way, especially given it's Rich Dennison, the new offensive coordinator, comes from the Shanahan tree where they just pepper the number one target there over and over and over. If he plays, and that's the big if, it's obviously health, like, as you mentioned, and I can't really dispute that. It's health. He's missed a bunch of time. I think that is a huge factor against him. But if he does play, he's going to, I think, see 30% of the targets there. I think he does have, one of the top just wide receiver skill sets in the game. Tyrod Taylor also is in a contract year, as is Sammy Watkins. So you imagine the two they've also had insane chemistry when they are able to stay on the field. I always look to and obviously now I'm pulling out stats from 2015. So that's, how far back I have to go to when he was actually genuinely consistent and productive. But he did have that stretch where he demanded the ball, and I think he's going to see that type of target share. In that stretch, he averaged 9 targets a game, 5.4 catches a game, 100 yards and a TD for those last 9 games of 2015. So I just think he's going to be in a situation. He's seeing that type of volume, that type of work. The chemistry is going to be on display. Maybe he does end up missing the whole, there's the risk is obviously there with the health, but that type of upside is tough for me to pass up on.
Yeah. And I think exactly what you said is a reason why, we tend to shy away, because I think those are all great points and they're all extremely valid. But the problem is I'd rather have, 2 birds in the hand and 1 in the bush, as they say, or something along those lines. Like, why would I draft Sammy Watkins over Jarvis Landry, Devontae Adams, and Michael Crabtree that he is going in front of? To me, it just doesn't make any sense. Those people have proven it. They are 80-plus catch people. And would you take Sammy Watkins over either of those 3?
I take him over, I think, all 3 of them. Definitely Jarvis Landry. I'm very down on Landry. The other 2, I can definitely be swayed on. I think Watkins just has a higher ceiling than any of the 3 you mentioned. Landry especially, he gets made out to be this PPR god and this great receiver, and I love the guy as a talent. He's one of my favorites. But ever since Ayaji took over there, he only had 1 game, I think, the second half of the year with over 5 catches. He just really kind of fizzled out. It became a very run-centric attack. So the other 2 I won't hate you for, even though I have Watkins above. But Landry I am super down on. He's not a guy I would take even close to Sammy Watkins right now.
Listen, see, I don't know what.
Go ahead.
And I don't want to go back and forth only on Sammy Watkins here because I might tear my hair out. But I mean, but Jarvis, I don't know. Sometimes when someone makes the argument of upside, and maybe you could tell me, is he going to be a 300-point upside? Because Jarvis Landry could almost be a lock for another 220 points like he had last year. And if Sammy Watkins does get 250, which maybe I can concede in you, then why do I care about those 30 points over 16 weeks when there's injury concerns, there's other concerns, when Jarvis Landry is, again, going to give me the points, just give me the 220. I'm not going to lose a league by dropping Jarvis Landry, whereas Sammy Watkins could really hurt me with an injury.
Or he could end up winning it for you. Who knows?
Listen, I'm taking the last word on this. And Wolf, I want to point out one piece of flawed logic that you're using, which is the whole,
of course,
the Buffalo had the lowest passing offense or whatever in the league last year. They can only go up. You know where I used that logic most recently? I used that logic most recently when DeAndre Hopkins was catching passes from that carousel of garbage that was there before Brock Osweiler. And Osweiler came in and I said, he can only conceivably get better. Look who he was catching passes from. And then Brock Osweiler was like, not so much.